Notice the edge, not just the physical precipice where the silhouette of a goat stands, teetering on a crumbling buttress at Kew Bridge, but the edge of reality itself. In early August 2024, the London skyline, usually a monotony of gray slate and red brick, was punctured by a series of shadows. These were not the meticulously detailed, multi-layered stencils we have come to expect from Banksy, those ironic, polished commentaries on capitalism or war that look almost ready for a gallery print. No, these were different. These were primal, rough-hewn voids cut out of the urban fabric. They were shadows that seemed to have detached themselves from a world more ancient than the city itself, casting themselves against the synthetic skin of the metropolis. We must begin by deconstructing the visual language of this London zoo. The brilliance here lies not in the painting itself, but in the architectural alchemy. Consider the Wolf of Peckham. It was not merely painted on a satellite dish, it transformed the object entirely. The concave white metal, typically a passive receiver of digital noise and television signals, became a luminous full moon. The wolf, painted in a stark, flat black, stretched its neck towards this synthetic celestial body, howling at the very technology that connects us yet alienates us from the wild. In that moment, the satellite dish ceased to be a piece of telecommunications infrastructure and became a narrative device. Banksy didn't bring the moon to Peckham. He revealed that the moon was already there, hiding in the mundane clutter of a rooftop. This is the essence of the series, the weaponization of infrastructure. The canvas is no longer a passive wall, it is an active participant. Look at the police sentry box in the City of London, a structure designed for surveillance, for authority, for the rigid enforcement of boundaries. With a splash of translucent spray paint and the addition of swimming piranhas, Banksy dissolved the steel and glass into water. He turned a symbol of control into a fishbowl, an aquarium where the predators were trapped by the very glass meant to protect them. It is a visual pun, yes, but one that operates on a visceral level. It forces us to look at the street furniture we ignore every day, the CCTV cameras, the junction boxes, the bridges, and see them as potential habitats. The aesthetic choice of the silhouette is crucial here. By removing detail, no fur texture, no eyes, no color, Banksy strips the animals of their individuality and turns them into archetypes. They are not specific creatures. They are the idea of the wild intruding upon the civilized. The rough, grainy edges of the spray paint against the peeling stucco and brickwork create a tactile friction. You can feel the speed of the application, the urgency of the night. This is not art that asks to be admired for its technique. It is art that demands to be acknowledged for its presence. It asserts that the concrete jungle is still a jungle, and that the beasts we thought we had paved over are merely waiting in the shadows of our architecture, ready to reclaim the spaces we think we own. To truly understand the weight of these images, we must remember the atmosphere in which they breathed. August 2024. The air in the United Kingdom was thick, not just with the humidity of summer, but with the suffocating heat of civil unrest. Streets were burning. The digital sphere was screaming. Communities were fracturing under the weight of disinformation, riots, and xenophobia. The news cycle was a cacophony of shouting heads, shattering glass, and political posturing. It was a time of absolute, deafening noise. And into this roaring furnace, Banksy dropped silence. For 9 consecutive days, an image appeared. No caption, no press release, no witty Instagram observation about the state of the nation. Just an ibex clinging to a wall, 2 elephants reaching for each other across blocked-out windows, 3 monkeys swinging across a bridge. In the past, Banksy has been the town crier, his art acting as a punchline to a political joke. But here, he became the silent observer. The absence of text was in itself the most powerful texture in the work. In a week where everyone was forced to pick a side, to shout a slogan, to condemn or defend, the artist offered us a momentary suspension of judgment. He offered us nature. Consider the composition of the elephants in Chelsea. 2 silhouettes painted on blocked-out windows, stretching their trunks towards one another. The architecture separates them. A brick divide stands between their connection. yet the gesture is one of tenderness, of an attempt to bridge a gap. In the context of the riots, this image vibrates with melancholy. It is a quiet counter-narrative to the images of humans throwing bricks at humans. While the streets were filled with people behaving like beasts, Banksy showed us beasts behaving with a grace that humanity seemed to have lost. It poses the uncomfortable question, who are the real savages in the concrete jungle? This silence was not passive, it was a vacuum that sucked in the viewer's anxieties. By refusing to define the meaning, Banksy forced the public to project their own. Were the monkeys a critique of the chaotic government? Was the goat a symbol of a nation on the precipice? Or were they simply animals, indifferent to our human dramas? This is the power of the foil. By placing the stoic, silent, enduring presence of the natural world against the backdrop of transient, violent human politics, the art highlighted the absurdity of our conflict. The pelicans pinching fish above a chip shop in Walthamstow brought a moment of levity, a breath of air. They reminded us that life, biological, simple, hungry life, continues regardless of the political storm. The silence of the London Zoo was a roar, drowning out the shouting not with volume, but with a profound, contemplative stillness that the city desperately needed.
Then came the 9th day, the final piece of the puzzle that retroactively illuminated the entire map. At the London Zoo itself, a shutter was painted. A gorilla, immense and powerful, is depicted lifting the heavy metal sheet from the bottom, creating a gap. From this opening, a sea lion swims away, and birds fly into the ether. Suddenly, the narrative arc snaps into focus. This was not an invasion, it was a liberation. The previous 8 days were not random sightings, they were escapees. The goat, the elephants, the monkeys, the wolf, they had all slipped through the shutter lifted by the gorilla. The city was not being reclaimed by nature, nature was fleeing the cages we built for it. This final image recontextualizes the entire series from a whimsical safari into a coherent fable about freedom. It transforms the whole of London into the enclosure, blurring the lines between the inside of the zoo and the outside world. If the animals are escaping into the city, it implies that the city itself is the wilder, more dangerous place, or perhaps that there is no difference between the cage and the street. We are all behind the shutter. But the most profound commentary came not from the paint, but from the public's reaction to it. The tragedy of the London Zoo is that the escape was doomed from the start. Consider the fate of the wolf in Peckham. Within hours of its discovery, masked men scaled the roof, ripped the satellite dish from its moorings, and vanished. It was not vandalism, it was a brutal, capitalistic capture. The artwork, intended to be a public gift, a shared moment of wonder, was instantly commodified, stolen, and privatized. The wolf was caged again, this time by greed. Then there was the cat on the billboard, removed by contractors hours after it appeared, citing safety concerns. The irony is suffocating. We build cities that are hostile to the wild. When art attempts to reintroduce a ghost of that wildness, we either steal it for profit or sanitize it for safety. The London Zoo series proved its own hypothesis. Wild things cannot exist in our modern world without being commodified, regulated, or destroyed. The gorilla may have lifted the shutter, but the animals had nowhere to go. And yet, that is why this series will endure. It exists now only in memory, in photographs, and in the digital ether. Like the animals it depicted, the art was ephemeral, fleeing the scene before it could be fully domesticated. Banksy's 9 Days of Silence told us more about our society than 1,000 op-eds. It showed us that we crave the wild, we yearn for the beauty of the untreated world, but we have built a civilization that can no longer sustain it. We are left staring at the empty satellite dish, the blank billboard, the cleaned wall, haunted by the creatures that were there for a moment, and then, like the civility we lost that August, vanished into the gray.